Good evening. I'm Victoria weather meteorologist Ryan Henning, and I'm going to talk about a potential for a severe thunderstorm outbreak tomorrow afternoon and evening for the upper Midwest and western Great Lakes. It's going to get mighty warm tomorrow in Minnesota and Wisconsin in particular, potentially reaching the 80s all the way up into northern Wisconsin, which would be a pleasant surprise this time of year. I've been looking through some past tweets using time hop and whatever, and I've been talking about how cold it was at the beginning of May the last couple of years. So it's really nice that we're getting what is a more typical May pattern in the upper Midwest and western Great Lakes. For those that don't know, despite the Purdue sweatshirt, I'm actually based out of Minneapolis, the St. Paul area. So I get to experience the chilly winters and what has been some pretty late springs the last couple of years. But again, today was very nice in the upper Midwest, but tomorrow also is going to be fairly warm. But by the mid to late afternoon, we're going to start to see some thunderstorms. Thunderstorms should start popping. There's an area low pressure moving through northern Canada, swinging a cold front that's actually not even going to penetrate the United States. There's a prefrontal trough that's going to be triggering all the thunderstorms. It's resting from, by the time it starts generating thunderstorms tomorrow, it will be resting from Lake Superior through central Minnesota. We're going to have issues breaking the cap earlier in the day, and the cap has to do with lapse rates, and it's the old adage that warm air rises. Well, if it's warmer aloft than it is at the surface, then the warm air is going to reach a barrier. The parcels, not going to lift, thunderstorms aren't going to develop, and that's going to be the issue we're going to have early in the day. The cap's going to break first in northern Wisconsin, and then it's going to build, the line of thunderstorms is going to build further to the south, and eventually by late evening, thunderstorms are going to develop south of the Twin Cities towards Rochester and southeastern Minnesota. The cities that would be the most under the gun for severe weather tomorrow are going to be the Wausau, Wisconsin area, northern Wisconsin. Fortunately, the outbreak likely will not be around too many major metropolitan centers. You know what? I've got a nice little road map here, so I'll show you the areas where I'm talking about. I've had some complaints about the light when I've had the monitor kind of polluting the imagery, so I figured I'd just talk about what we've got going on using this nice little road map. It's low production here at Victoria Weather. So thunderstorms are going to initialize right up here in northern Wisconsin, so maybe around Rhinelander or Rice Lake, probably a little bit southeast of Rice Lake, but more like Rhinelander. And then we've got where there's Wisconsin Rapids, and there's Wausau right there. So they're going to develop right here, fill in across northern Wisconsin, shift slightly south, and then as the evening progresses and it starts to cool aloft, the cap will break and thunderstorms will flare along the trough, which is going to be running through here. There's the Twin Cities right here, so Eau Claire might see some heavy thunderstorms, and then develop to the north of Rochester and then move south towards, maybe, like I said, Wisconsin Rapids, Toma, before eventually expiring around Wisconsin Dells and Portage. They could see some thunderstorms in the Madison area later tonight or later tomorrow night, but I think that's going to be after the storms are no longer severe. So what are we talking about with severe weather for this thunderstorm? Just the orientation of it. I don't think tornadoes are going to be a significant threat, and I don't think hail, particularly the large like Southern Plains style tennis ball, golf, and greater sized hail is going to be an issue either. I think it's going to be a lot of straight line winds caused by the momentum of this advancing system, and then downdrafts as the thunderstorms collapse late at night. So I think towards the end of the event, so around Wisconsin Dells and Baraboo, and then again towards Rochester and Minnesota, we might see some wind damage reports. There's probably going to be a little bit of hail up to the north, but it's going to be with gusty winds. So if this boundary is moving along pretty quick, then maybe we'll have some wider range winds up around Wausau and Rhinelander. But I think it's going to be a lot of discrete little thunderstorm cells that are producing wind as the system advances to the southeast. overnight tomorrow night. Again, the thunderstorms in northern Wisconsin are going to develop probably after 4, maybe closer to even 6. And then they'll really start to move into Minnesota and continue developing after 7. So most of the severe weather is going to be between about 8 and midnight tomorrow night, and then continue south towards Madison, Milwaukee, and maybe even Chicago well after midnight. And at that point, it's just going to be noisy, but it's not going to be particularly dangerous or severe. So that's a little bit of good news. It's going to be noisy. It's going to be the first real chance for severe weather this far north this year, so it's a little exciting for the weather lovers and the thunderstorm lovers of southeastern Minnesota and Wisconsin. And while there will be severe weather, and I think there probably will be some tree and limb damage, especially with the trees beginning to leaf out up here, it's not going to be a widespread destructive event. So for the most part, thunderstorm lovers will be able to love the thunderstorms guilt-free because they know they're not going to be particularly destructive. Still, stay tuned. Some of these gusty thunderstorms, I mean, they can gust 60, 70 miles an hour. That's what a severe thunderstorm is, and that's not too far off from the intensity of a tornado, and they cover a lot more ground. So, just stay tuned to the weather reports. Don't just take these thunderstorms for granted. Every thunderstorm is different, and that's going to be the case along this line, too. Every thunderstorm from near the UP to southern Minnesota and all through Wisconsin are going to be different from the next one. So one thunderstorm might be a little bit stronger than the next. So just be careful and enjoy the loud rumbles of thunder tomorrow. I'm sure that it's a little late. But I'll try to keep you guys updated on Twitter tomorrow evening. And but for the time being, I am Ryan Henning for Victoria Weather, and enjoy the night.